Hey everybody, Miss Germany here. We never made it to exercise D, but it is very important that I made sure I went over this with you. Sorry, it does the change of slides. So watch as I'm going to demonstrate this one for you to refer back to. So solving equation decision chart, our very first question asks, are there fractions or decimals to be removed? And I can see that yes, I definitely do have fractions that I'm going to want to make go away. So since I have fractions, I start with fractions when it says yes, and it tells me that what I need to do is I need to find the LCM so I can multiply. So again, LCM, we've been having this conversation. First of all, I look at the denominators. So my denominators are 3 and then 6. All right, so these are my two numbers that I'm going to use to find. So I start with, does 3 multiply up to 6? Yes, it does. So since that does, I can use 6 as my LCM. Okay, I can use 6 as my LCM. Now, I showed you this earlier today, and so I'm going to try to use it again and see if it helps you. What I need to do is I need to take and multiply both sides by that LCM of 6, okay? So I need to multiply both sides by that LCM of 6. Now, when I do that, what happens is I'm going to use that cross reduction. So the 3 and the 6, the 3 becomes a 1, so it kind of makes it go away, but I am left with 2 here. All right, I am left with 2 here. So on the left, I now have the 2 that's going to be outside of those parentheses that were already there of x plus 6. Okay, so the 2 just replaces the fraction of the 1/3, but I keep the parentheses of the x plus 6. Now equals, on the other side, all right, I have my 6 there in the denominator and my 6 that went here in the numerator. So those are just gone. And now what I'm left with is I'm left with 5x. Okay, I'm left with 5x. So I now have made my fractions go away, and I've done that using the LCM. Question number 2, does distributive property need to be used? Well, I have parentheses here, so yes, I do have distributive property that needs to be used. And so I'm going to distribute watching for negatives. Now, good news is there's no negatives anywhere here. So I'm going to distribute the 2 to the x, the 2 to the 6, remembering distributive property is just multiplication. So 2 times x just becomes 2x. 2 times 6 becomes plus 12. And then my equals 5x just stays exactly as it is. Okay, so now I've done the first two questions. And as we've been talking, this is just a practice. It's not a mandatory and it's completely optional. So I'm going to choose to draw the line where the equal sign is because it just helps me to be able to see. And then I'm going to draw boxes around my variable terms. All right, again, including any operators in case there are any. And I'm going to draw circles around my constant terms. Okay, so I'm going to draw circles here around my constant terms. All right, so this is going to just help me visually answer my next couple of questions. Okay, so my next question, question 3, are there like terms on the same side of the equal sign? Well, that's part of the reason we use the boxes. This is my only side that has multiple terms, and one's a square, one's a circle, so no, I don't have like terms. Next question. Are there variables on both sides of the equal sign? Those are my boxes. Well, sure enough, I have 2x on my left-hand side and I have 5x on my right-hand side. So yes, I do have variables on both sides. So my tells me to add or subtract to move the variable to one side of the equal sign. Okay, so since I got to move to one side of the equal sign, again, I always move the smaller of the two coefficients. So I have a coefficient of 2 and I have a coefficient of 5. So my smaller coefficient would be 2. That would be smaller on the number line. So I am going to move that. Now, since that is a positive, what I will do is I will subtract to move that. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. Okay. I do that so that on the left, those two x's are going to cancel. Positive 2x minus 2x would just cancel out, which is what I need. So I'm left with 12 over here on the left, and 5 minus 2x is going, or 5x minus 2x, excuse me, is going to give me 3x. All right, so that is what I've got here. Now, at this point, I only have one variable term and one constant term. So when it asks me, are there constants on both sides? No, I'm already down to my variable term. So is there a coefficient with my variable? Yes. My coefficient of 3, so I'm going to use division because that is the inverse operation, and I will divide by 3, and we've learned equality property. What I divide on one side, I divide on the other. So my 3's on the right-hand side this time are going to cancel out. All right. 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4, and then I'm left with just my x. So I have 4 equals x, or remember, you can always just turn that around to x equals 4. So this gives you removing decimals, or excuse me, removing fractions again using the LCM from the denominators, distributive property, variables on both sides, and dividing to remove the coefficient. Hope this helps.